Good morning or good afternoon, guys, if you're tuning in from New Zealand. So today we are going to go over two of Cisco's best acquisitions. So they're two of the products that Cisco have really sort of taken on board and run with. So my name's Greg Williams. I'm a security engineer working with Cisco Security, so I work closely with Umbrella. Joining me today from the Meraki side is MJ Roberhan. So he's going to give us a bit of an overview of the Meraki side of things, and then we're going to bring the two of them together, really to set the scene today. What we've experienced a lot lately is a changing workplace environment. If we cast our minds back 5 or 8 years, it used to be commonplace that every single thing in our environment was inside our business's walls. So our physical perimeter was our protectable perimeter. We used to have users coming to work every single day. They'd connect to generally a desktop machine. They'd go to get their mail, which would be on Microsoft Exchange, and generally hosted on a server in their environment. So it was quite easy to protect all of those assets when they're on the corporate network. If we have a look at the same situation now, pretty much everything has gone to the cloud. So we take the same situation, we have a user going to check their mail. Well, they're going to be generally logging in from anywhere. They can be checking Office 365, which is going to be hosted on infrastructure that they don't necessarily manage, and we have to deal with a number of different internet connections as well. So that's where two of these technologies, Umbrella and Meraki, really help us sort of excel our knowledge, because we are two cloud-based services. So that's really going to set the scene of what we're going to offer here today. As a bit of an overview as to what we're going to cover, so first we're going to have a look at a bit of the history behind Meraki and Umbrella. I'm then going to give us a little bit of an overview of Umbrella, just to give you guys a bit of an oversight of exactly what it is. I know that at the moment, generally on these sorts of webinars, because we've got two different technologies, we may have a group of customers from Meraki, we may have a group of customers from Umbrella, we may have customers that have neither solution or both. So we want to make sure that we sort of cover all of our bases here. We're going to have a look at what the integration is at the moment. So we're going to cover up on two of the things that we can do. And we're going to touch on very briefly the stuff that's coming in the future. So we've got a little bit that's in beta at the moment, and it's going to really allow us to expand what we can do between the integration at the moment. From here, I'm going to go into a demo. So I'm going to do the integration myself live and show you how simple it is. And then finally at the end, we'll give you a dedicated link that you can get a free 30-day trial of not only Umbrella but also Meraki as well, and you'll get the Meraki kit set out to you, so we can get that all set up and you can test it in your own environment for 30 days. Firstly, just as a bit of an overview, MJ, if you'd just like to introduce yourself and give us a bit of an overview of Meraki and where it come from.
Thanks, Greg. So, hello everyone, my name is MJ Robotham. I lead the inside sales team for the ANZ business here at Meraki. And just a quick little history. So Meraki, we first started off as pretty much a wireless company back in 2006. We came out with a full line of different networking gear. We came out with UTMs back in 2010, switching back in 2012, our MDM product in 2012, and pretty much since there it's just been massive growth. Once we got acquired by Cisco, just over 6.5 years right now. Now, when we got acquired by Cisco, we got acquired for $1.2 billion, and Cisco pretty much created a brand new division inside of Cisco, or a brand new business unit called the Cloud Networking Group, which was solely focused on Meraki. So pretty much since the acquisition back in 2012, we have seen massive growth, not only just in the APJ region, but more specifically in the ANZ region. Still growing at around 50% year on year, and we keep on coming up with brand new features that all of our customers are absolutely loving, and we're also coming up with brand new products such as our security cameras. So that's a quick little overview about Meraki right there, and Greg, just back to you on the Umbrella side of things.
Thanks, MJ. Okay, so flowing on from that, OpenDNS was founded in 2005. So a lot of people, when I ask them, have you heard of Cisco Umbrella? They'll say, no. Have you heard of OpenDNS? Oh, yeah, I've used that before. So a lot of people will know about that. Now, OpenDNS itself was formed as a home security service, and it was really around being able to stop your kids from going to content that you might not want them to go to. So in 2015, Cisco acquired them, and we've made it Cisco Umbrella. So we've really, essentially Ciscofied it. It's probably the best term to use. And we'll really have a look at what Umbrella can actually do, because we've evolved a long way from the days of it being a home-based use. But because we still do have a lot of people who use that home service, there are some really good advantages that we get, and we're going to sort of dig into a few of those in a moment. So firstly, I'm going to talk about what DNS is. I know that these sorts of webinars, we have a bit of a mix of people of knowledge experiences. I know there's going to be some people who are more from the sales side. There's going to be some people who are more technical. So just stick with it if you're a bit of a technical person, but we just need to give a bit of an overview of what DNS is to really set the scene. So the technical definition of DNS is it's a hierarchical decentralized naming system for computers, services, and other resources that are connected to the internet. Great. What does that mean? Basically, simply, it means that it's like the phone book of the internet that maps their URLs to their IP addresses. So generally speaking, when you go and type something into your browser, so if I went to www.cisco.com, I'm not actually going to that place. I'm actually going to an IP address. So what DNS does is it goes and finds where a particular URL lives on the internet. So think of it as a phone book. Same sort of situation, if I was to go and get into a taxi, say take me to John's place, the taxi driver is not going to know where John lives. You may get dropped at his mate's John's place, but it's probably not where you want to go. So DNS will basically give him the address where he needs to go. Now when we think about this, there's a few different groups that we need to be aware of. So the first thing we have is we have the domain register. So the domain register, when you go and register a new domain, you'll use a service, someone like, in this instance, GoDaddy. And you'll go, okay, I want to register www.mynewdomain.com. GoDaddy will then engage the authority of DNS services, and they're going to publish that information out to the greater web so everyone knows where it is. The recursive DNS service, and this is where Umbrella comes into its own, is the lookup function for going to find where particular websites live on the internet. Now when we talk about recursive DNS, every single device that accesses the internet today needs to use someone for a recursive DNS lookup functionality. Generally speaking, when I ask people this, who are they using? I'll either get Umbrella, I'll get Google, so 8.8.8.8, I'll get Telstra. A lot of people use their service provider as their DNS resolution or their ISP, or I'll get what is DNS. They're generally the four answers that I get. So Umbrella, just as a recursive DNS solution, we do get a few advantages just of using Umbrella as a free recursive lookup functionality, and we'll have a look at what they are in a moment. So if we have a look at how the flow works from a resolution standpoint, let's say for argument's sake, I'm on a device that is using Umbrella for recursive DNS lookup. I go to www.cisco.com. What we'll do is that we'll ask the Umbrella resolvers, do you know where www.cisco.com lives? If it's already held in the cache, which in this instance is probably a very good chance that it would be, that will just return it back to the device and the page will load, so resolution will happen. If I'm trying to go to a bit more of a bespoke site, this is where we engage the authority of DNS services. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go to the root servers. Now these root servers are the backbone of the internet, and there's 13 of these worldwide. The job of these root servers is to know where all of the top level domain servers sit. So when I'm talking about a top level domain server, we're talking about a .com, a .net, a .gov, something along those lines. The job of the .com or the top level domain server is to know where the domain level servers sit. So this is how the resolution works, and this is done in a matter of milliseconds. Now it's important to note how this works when we start to look at how we've actually laid our data centers out, because we've done it strategically where we've put our infrastructure, and we've done this for resolution speed. Now Umbrella itself, just our view of the internet, we see approximately 180 billion DNS queries per day, and that's across a myriad of different customers. It works out to be around about 4% of global internet traffic. Now, when I mentioned before about OpenDNS being born from a home user perspective, that's really, really important, because if we think of people's web habits when they're at work versus when they're at home, they're going to be vastly different. So it's really good to sort of have a good mix of data in there. The other really good thing about having this volume of data every single day is it can give us some metrics about what a particular website might be. Let's say we see a brand new domain that does get spun up. We can do a little bit of investigation on that particular site before a single request has ever been made to it. We can look at things like the email address that was used to register it, and we can look at the history of that email address to see if it's registered any domains in the past and what the history of those domains has been. Have they turned out to be malicious? We can look at where the site is physically located, so where it's registered. Is it registered in a country that we may not trust quite so much? We can look at the ASN, so that's an area of the network or the internet. So similar to physical neighbourhoods, we have our good ones and we have our bad ones. So we can go and look at that sort of information as well. We can look at the characteristics behind a website, so things like the time to live. We can look at if it's using fast flux DNS. Based on all this information, we can start to do some determination on what a site might be before we've seen any traffic actually go to it. Now, when we look at the infrastructure, we have about 30 data centres located around the world. The ones that are obviously going to be relevant to us are Sydney and Melbourne. I do apologise, whoever did make this, this particular backdrop doesn't exactly know the geography of Australia, because it looks like we're hosted in Canberra and Mount Gambier, but they are actually in Melbourne and Sydney. So based on your geolocation, you're always going to resolve to the next closest data centre. Now, we do use something called BGP, or Border Gateway Protocol, for this. And realistically, what that means is it means that we can take less steps across the internet to get from point A to point Z. So if we think about that first slide that I showed around how the resolution works, it's really handy because we've partnered with content delivery networks and internet exchange points to make this resolution much, much quicker. If we have a look at our speed from something called DNSperf.com, which is just a third-party reviewing organisation, we can see globally we're up there amongst the fastest resolution you're going to get. And in our region, Oceania, we're also still way well faster than Google. So just by using Umbrella as your recursive DNS lookup functionality, you're going to get faster resolution. Now, speed is obviously important. What's much, much more important than speed is reliability. So what we do for this is we use something called anycast routing. So anycast routing basically means that we broadcast the same 2 IP addresses to all 30 of our data centers worldwide. What that means is that, like I mentioned, you're always going to resolve to the next closest data center for resolution speed. If that data center becomes unavailable for any reason, you'll just fail over to the next closest data center. So for myself here, I'm in Melbourne, that would go from Melbourne over to Sydney. Because of this, we've had 100% uptime since 2006. Now, this is really, really important to note, because if you can't resolve DNS queries, you can't access the internet. It is a fundamental piece that you need for the internet. So let's go into the Umbrella features a little bit. Now, we're going to start talking here about the security side of things first. So if we think about DNS for a moment, every single device that accesses the internet needs to use someone for recursive DNS lookup functionality. Similarly, every single attack that we see needs to communicate back to its command and control, or its home. So because we're at that DNS layer, it doesn't really matter what the device is. It doesn't really matter where the device is. It doesn't matter what the device is actually connected to. We can still protect it. So if we think about our business today, there's a bunch of different things that we really have to protect. Obviously, all of our corporate assets, so our servers and our desktops and our laptops, but there's a lot in the way of IoT and BYOD that is a bit of a minefield when we start to try and protect it. If we look at IoT for a moment, we've seen a very sharp rise in the amount of attacks that are geared towards IoT. So we've had things like Chromecast be hacked, we've had printers be hacked, we've had a massive botnet, the Meraki botnet, which was a bunch of internet-connected surveillance cameras. So these are becoming an entry point into a particular network. The other thing that we have to be mindful of is roaming users. So we're in a situation today where people will work from a lot of different locations, and we need to see how we're protecting those users when they're both on the corporate network or when they're out roaming around as well. Now, when we're going to allow and block a particular destination, it's fairly easy for us to tell if something's good. We've seen a particular site around for a fair while. We don't know the reputation of that site. We know what the site's trying to achieve. It hasn't got any ties to malware. We know that's okay. On the same token, it's fairly easy to tell if something's bad. Like we've spoken about before, it can be on a dodgy email address, on a bad ASN. It can have ties to malware sites. It can be hosted in a country we don't trust. Just our intelligence tells us that it is bad. When we start looking at the stuff in the middle, this is where we have something called our intelligent proxy, which is a cloud-based proxy service to do a little bit more investigation on a particular destination. So we can have a look at the IP address that is related to a particular URL. We can do SSL decryption, so we can essentially do like a man in the middle looking into the traffic to see what do we actually know about these HTTPS traffic, so the encrypted traffic. The other thing we can do here is we can tie into Cisco Telos. So Cisco Telos is our threat intelligence organization. So these guys are our threat hunters. They'll go out, they'll reverse engineer malware, they'll do vulnerability assessments in applications, they'll look for bounties in applications, and they do their own content filtering and web categorization. Now, Telos are the world's largest non-governmental threat intelligence organisation. Now that's really, really important to note, because if Umbrella sees a particular site that it's not quite sure about, it can go and ask Telos for a second opinion. So it's like going to see a second doctor for a second opinion as well. The final thing that we can do at this stage is we can do some file inspection. So we can have a look at AMP. So AMP's our malware protection product, also sits inside Meraki as well. And we can have a look at the files as they're trying to enter your network to see, okay, we've got a file here, let's hash that file and do a hash association lookup to see what we know about that particular file. Now, we have also content filtering built into here as well, and application control. So we have 80 different content categories. We can control these however we need to. If we want to control it down to an individual user, we can. If we want to lock it to the entire network, we can. So we've got full granular control over our web categories, our web destinations, and also our cloud services. So the cloud services report is really quite cool because we can start to look at all of the cloud services that we're consuming in our environment. And generally, we'll find that there's a lot more of these than you would actually expect to live in your environment today. So as far as an attack kill chain, if we think about a ransomware campaign delivered via a phishing email, which is going to be one of the most common attacks that we're going to get today, there's a few different stages in those sorts of attacks that we can actually stop that from taking place. The first thing is if someone clicks on a phishing email, the first or the most weak link in any network is going to be Bob's clicky finger. It doesn't matter who you are, what organisation you are, you're still going to have users that are going to click on phishing emails. It's almost impossible to stop. We at Cisco still do phishing tests. We're a technology company and we still have about 13% of people who will still click on phishing tests when we do them. So it doesn't matter what you do, you're still going to have to manage that. So if you do have someone that clicks on a phishing email, there's a good chance that we'll know about that malicious URL and we'll block the access directly to that site. So it's more of a prevention level at that stage. Like I just spoke about before, the second layer is if a file is trying to be pulled down onto your network, we can stop that file from entering your network. And then finally, what's really, really good when I put Umbrella across someone's network is to actually go and see, am I already infected? What devices are making malicious communication? Do I have any communication back to command and control servers, to malware sites, phishing sites, proxy avoidance, even things like crypto mining as well? We can actually view and stop all of that communication. So it's like a before, during and after way that we can stop an attack. Onto the deployment. So from a setup perspective, it is the simplest product you'll ever set up in your life. You really have an account, point your DNS to Umbrella. So at your edge device, you redirect your DNS queries to the Umbrella resolvers and you put your IP address into the dashboard. At this layer, we've protected our network as a whole. So pretty much our entire network. There's going to be no granular control about which device it actually came from. If we want this, we have a few different deployment methods that we can put into place. The first one we have there is the Umbrella roaming client. So what that does is it's a lightweight agent that exists on your machine, and that will give you the local information about the device. So we're talking about the local username, the host name, the internal IP address. The other really good thing about the roaming client is that as soon as you go off an Umbrella protected network and you connect to your home, a cafe, an airport, a hotel, whatever it may be, the roaming client will actually kick in and it will control the DNS queries. It will communicate up to the Umbrella resolvers, pick up policy control on the way through, and you're going to get the same level of protection for your Windows and Mac devices if you're on the corporate network or you're out roaming around. I'll skip over AD and come back to it in a moment. The virtual appliances are lightweight virtual machines that we have in our environment, and basically they act similar to an internal DNS server. So they'll capture the traffic from all the devices coming in, and then they'll communicate with the Umbrella resolvers. Once we've done either one of these two deployments, we can then integrate into Active Directory. We can then start tying our policy controls to things like Active Directory groups, Active Directory sites, Active Directory users, whatever we need to actually have our policies tied to. And then finally, and this is a nice tie into the Meraki side of things, is our API for network devices. So what this allows us to do is this allows us to integrate Umbrella into other network devices, so in this case Meraki, and then we can start tying our Umbrella policies to Meraki group policies, to Meraki SSIDs, to Meraki VLANs. So depending on whichever SSID I connect to is what policy from Umbrella I'm actually going to pick up. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass over to MJ, and MJ is going to give us a bit of an overview of Meraki.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Let me just spark up my screen really quick. So perfect. So Cisco Meraki, I'm sure many of you have actually heard about the Meraki product set, but just as a quick little high-level overview, we are like the cloud networking solution for Cisco. Currently, we do have 6 different product lines that are all cloud or all tied together by our cloud dashboard. And if you really think about Meraki, Meraki, our mission statement is we try to drive powerful technology so we can simplify it not only for any of our partners and resellers, but for our consumers to actually use it in that way. And with Meraki, what you get is you get a lot of visibility on pretty much every single part of your network, understanding who is coming onto the network, who's around your network, being able to look at all the different applications that you can actually, or that are actually happening on the network. And then even from there, we actually give you this idea where we're actually giving you like this intent to actually make proper business outcomes based off of what you're actually gathering from the context of what's going on your network. And some examples that I actually have on this is SD-WAN, for example. Essentially what we can do is we can have the network actually make an intelligent decision so that way a specific application can go out the proper uplink for you so that way you're still having that high quality grade of experience that you need for this application while you're still putting all these applications into the cloud. And mind you, like with Meraki, we try to simplify everything so much that with our licensing structure, we give you the we give you quite a bit with our license. So what we do is we give you seamless software and firmware updates. And with those software and firmware updates, we actually introduce SD-WAN for free, just for any of our customers that are actually running our MX products here. In terms of like the wireless side, we're giving you more visibility and a quicker, cleaner way to actually troubleshoot any type of wireless issues with the introduction of Meraki Wireless Health, which actually goes through the whole process of what a device looks like authenticating onto the network to actually passing data on the network and being able to pinpoint exactly where you have an issue, whether it be on the DNS side, whether it be a DHCP side. We'll give you all the context to actually drive better business outcomes for your business. So below we do have some stats right here. We do have over 2 million active networks worldwide, which is quite a feat for us, and it was really an exciting time that we did have here at Meraki. And we do have 5.5 million active Meraki dashboard users to date. So a lot of what we did get when we first got acquired by Cisco 6.5 years ago was, we're so used to having this idea of having everything on-prem. And there are a lot of hesitations going to the cloud, opening yourselves up to different vulnerabilities, not being able to control everything just on site. And this page right here is actually showing you our out-of-band cloud architecture. So in a nutshell, what this is actually showing is you'll have Meraki products on site, in any of your premises. So you'll have our security appliances, switches, access points throughout the whole venue. And what it does is the way that our architecture actually works is you can configure your whole entire network before getting onto, or before the kit actually comes to you. So essentially all you have to do is you configure it, and then once the network products are actually on site, you plug them to the internet, to your gateway, and then the network devices actually phone home to the cloud architecture or to our cloud data centers, and they know exactly who they are. They have like their serial number. They'll be like, okay, I'm a part of this network right here. What are my configurations? And what happens is all those configurations get sent down to the actual network, and your network's up and running within a couple minutes. Now, with the out-of-band solution that we have right here, there's absolutely no user traffic that actually goes through any of our cloud at all. It's just the management data and pretty much the statistics about what's happening on your network. And we take security really seriously here at Cisco, and we do have a 4.9 SLA on our cloud uptime, and we do have SAS Type 2 testing that we do on every single one of our data centers. It is a very highly reliable, it's very scalable when you start looking at it. If you are looking, maybe at like one site and then possibly looking at Meraki across multiple sites, having something that you don't have to keep on reinventing the wheel over and over again, and pretty much just using the dashboard and like the cloud architecture to help scale you really does save you quite a lot of time and money actually in the long run of things. Now, quick little overview on our access points. I could really bore you guys to death with, all the different models that we have, all the feeds and speeds, but really what I want to kind of like let you know is that we do have different access point models for pretty much every single environment. So if you're looking at a very small office where there's, maybe only a handful of devices that are looking to connect onto the network, we've got something for you there. If you're looking into MGig, multi-gigabits via one copper connection, pushing down, a gigabit worth of data via the air, we do have those for you as well too. And then probably like some of the newer models that we actually do have in terms of our access points is we actually offered a Wi-Fi 6, actually two Wi-Fi 6 products. So we do have one product that is, we kind of call it like our entry-level Wi-Fi 6, which is, even when we say that, like there's so much capability that you get from Wi-Fi 6 that it's quite a bit, so I can't even use the words to describe this right here. But we do have Cisco's highest flagship model on Wi-Fi 6, and that's our MR55, which is an 8x8 with 8 spatial streams. Without boring you guys too much into the details here, we do have pretty much a wireless solution for pretty much every single environment that is out there. Now to complement that, we do have quite a bit of antennas as well too. So as you saw on the last page, we do have internal access points that actually do have external antennas. This is still pretty new to Meraki right here, but this is really where we got a lot of inspiration from the Cisco engineering team, so that way we could actually give back to our customers what they actually need. Whether you're deploying an access point with a very high amount of devices looking to connect onto the Wi-Fi, we've got antennas for that. Or if you're looking at a deployment where an access point has to be 5 meters up and let's say like an auditorium kind of setting, we do have antennas that can actually accompany that for you as well too. So integrating the technologies. I guess a lot of people are always wondering, like, why is it that, Cisco's going or getting so happy that, there's this integration between Umbrella and the Meraki solution. And I think Craig kind of like talked about it just earlier, and it's really this idea that you've got two different acquisitions that came into Cisco that are both cloud focused, and they both have this idea where they're just driving simplicity across every single product that they have. And if you're to take a look at, what Meraki actually offers, we do offer a quick and easy, very simple way of being able to view your network, configure your network, troubleshoot your network, and at the end of the day, make real smart business outcomes based off of everything that's going on in your network. And then you take on the other side, this idea where you have security and security on the DNS side of things, where you're looking to protect your network, not just on the network side, but actually on people's requests going out on malware and ransomware. And taking that simplicity and putting it together, it was almost a no-brainer why this integration couldn't exist. Now, to go into a little bit more of the benefits, Greg did say, and you guys are about to see it in just a little bit, but it is the easiest way to set up and deploy security on a wireless network that you've ever imagined. Personally, I do have a very, very small Meraki network at home, and I was able to get access to Umbrella. And for me, being not a technical person in any stretch of the imagination, it took me about 5 minutes to get everything up and running, and I probably still made mistakes. So if I can do it, I know it's easier to say, if I can do it, you can do it. We are going to, put it to the test for you guys and do offer a trial so that you guys can actually get your hands on this later on and really test to see how easy it is and actually how efficient it is on your network. Some other things, as Craig kind of mentioned as well too, it's really taking this idea of having security and normally what a complex solution is, and really giving you this granular idea of, like if I want a specific SSID where it's going to be at a school, for example, and I want all my students, to make sure that they're not doing anything inappropriate or exposing themselves or their devices to any type of threats, you can actually really granularly put these different policies into place in the most simple way possible. So how it works, I promise you this is almost like what it looks like on the documentation. Just kidding, it's not. But how it works, it's quite simple. You'd have to actually have the Umbrella dashboard, so you can pull a couple of things like this API key and secret right here. You'll have to have the Meraki dashboard open as well too. And essentially all you're doing is you're taking the Meraki dashboard, and as you start putting in the API keys into the Meraki dashboard, once you hit save, then what's going to happen is the first request that comes in on the access point automatically gets pointed to Umbrella. And then Umbrella is going to do its job on actually taking a look at all the different DNS requests to see if it actually is, if this site's malicious or not. If it's good, you're right back onto the network. If not, then it's actually going to just splash you out and say, Cisco Umbrella, you cannot go to this site due to malware or due to whatever type of threat that could actually be on there. And from there, you can actually put your different policies into place. So as you can see here, right below the layer 7 firewall rules, so you can actually block any type of layer 7 applications that are actually happening on the network. But from there, you can actually put in the policies that are actually getting, that it's coming from Umbrella, and you just pop them into exactly where you want it to go. And really, it's seriously that easy right there. I wish that we could give you more and make it more complex. Actually, I don't want to make it more complex because really at our heart, Meraki is just driving simplicity for everyone. So with that, we'll just go into a quick demo, and I'll pass it back to Greg to kind of go over this for you.
Thanks, MJ. Okay, now give me a moment. I just need to share my screen again. There we go. Should be popping up again. Okay, so here I have, you can see my screen. Can you, MJ?
Sorry, I went on mute, but yes, I can.
You can, excellent, just double checking. Okay, so here we have our Umbrella dashboard and the Meraki dashboard. Now these are just for my home, so there's not a whole lot of traffic in here, but what I've got in my Umbrella dashboard here is I've got a few different policies. So we can see I've got an audit-only policy, a guest policy, and a default policy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to deal with all of these inside the Meraki dashboard. So basically we set our policies up in Umbrella, but this is really about the only time that we need to touch Umbrella from here. So to do this integration, all we need to do now is come down to the admin portal here, down to API keys. And we see I've got an Umbrella network devices one here. If you haven't got one, you just click create up the top here. But I'm going to create this, I'm just going to refresh it so I'll get a new one. And we'll see here I have my key and my secret. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to come over to my Meraki dashboard here. I'm going to go to network wide and general. And then right down to the very bottom here, you'll see that you have Cisco Umbrella account. Now, if you don't see Cisco Umbrella account here, what it will mean is that you need to update your firmware. So your Meraki MR firmware will need to be at least MR26 or above before you're able to see this in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to new credentials. We're going to paste that key in, come back to my Umbrella dashboard, grab my secret, copy the secret, come back to here, and paste that in as well. And we'll save that. Down the bottom, we can see it is now connected. So that's as simple as it is to actually link the two dashboards together. From now, there's a couple of different things that we can do. Now, one thing we're not going to go into today is the integration with the MXs. So we are working on the integration with the Meraki MXs, and we could be able to tie an Umbrella policy to a Meraki generated VLAN or an entire subnet. What we're going to look at here is we're going to tie an Umbrella policy to Meraki generated SSIDs and also to Meraki generated group policies. So over to my wireless side here first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to firewall and traffic shaping. And we can see up the top here, I have a couple of different SSIDs. I've got my normal one and I've got my guest network. So on this normal one here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to here, and you see I've got a link Umbrella policies. So we see that's going and fetch my Umbrella policies, and we can see I've got my 3 policies here. So I'm just going to use my default policy for this particular SSID, and I'm going to save that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my guest network that I've got created here. I'm going to link my guest network policy to this particular organization or this particular SSID. Done. That's as simple as it is to set up the integration between the SSIDs and the and Umbrella. It really is that simple. Now, if I come back to Umbrella here, I come over to deployments, they will show under network devices. If I have a look here, there they are. There's my two integrations that I just set up, the policies that they've pulled. So as soon as I go and connect to any one of these SSIDs, I'm going to pick up this particular policy. So it's really that simple. To set this up from a group policy perspective, all we need to do is come over to network-wide and group policies. So we can see I've got my two group policies here that I've got one with 9 clients with IoT, and I've got 2 clients in my computers, one here. So I'm just going to come back to my clients. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to link this particular policy to it. So where are we here? Default policy, group policy, IoT, and that has picked it up straight away. So it's really as simple as doing that. So that is essentially the integration, and it's really quite simple to actually get set up. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw over to, if we have any questions here, we'll do that. But on this final slide here that I'm going to show, you'll see that we have a dedicated link here. So cs.co/Meraki and Umbrella. And what this will allow you to do is this will allow you to get a trial of either or both Meraki and Umbrella. So obviously if you're a Meraki customer, you just want a trial of Umbrella, you can do that. Or if you want a trial of both, you can have a trial of both, or vice versa. So it's really up to you. MJ, is there any questions that have popped into the chat window there?
So there's been a couple. So one of them is, do I still need to upgrade the MR to a beta firmware so that I can be able to use Umbrella? And the answer to that is no. As you mentioned, it's on firmware MR26. It's a stable GA firmware version that lets you do the integration without having to be on beta. Another question that we had as well too is, when is the MX integration with Umbrella happening? So the MX is a security appliance, and this is so close to coming out. It's in development right now. We don't
it's actually in beta at the moment. So you can actually go and test it. The reason I don't demo it, I never demo anything until it goes into GA. But you can actually go and demo it at the moment, so that we can get you some information on that. Looking to go GA probably later this year.
Perfect. And that's all that I've seen right now, but you know, we're more than happy to take on any questions here. Outside of that, I mean, really what we would love for you guys to do is to go to this website here, and again, you know, it's one thing, you know, being able to see it, but it's always another thing to be able to get your hands on both platforms and actually, you know, start setting something up inside of your actual environment. So please do have a look at this, and yeah, we'll hang around for any questions here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, MJ.
Not a problem. Thank you, Greg.